Inside Anditech's computer room, alarms blaring, screens flashing red, and grown men shouting over one another as if their voices could push the storm back. In the middle of it all stood Chief Anderson Williams, the billionaire CEO of Anditech, with tears in his eyes. He had one hand on the glass wall, staring at the main screen that now showed a brutal message. Data breach core systems locked. "Sir, we're trying," said Mr. Adewale, the head of ICT, fingers flying across his keyboard. "But whoever did this, they're inside everything." Chief Anderson did not answer. The tears were not from weakness, they were from fear. Investors, workers, families, a whole city that trusted Anditech to keep power grids steady, hospital servers safe, and small businesses running. One bad hour could break all of it. He covered his face and let a soft cry slip into the noise. Then the door opened. A frail girl stood there, skin dusty, hair messy, wearing a torn gown that looked too thin for the cold of the server room. She held the doorframe as if it might push her away. For a moment, nobody spoke. She did not belong here. She looked like someone who had been forgotten by the world. "I can save your company," she said. Several engineers laughed without meaning to. A security guard rolled his eyes. Mr. Adewale did not even look up. "Please, get her out of here," he snapped. "We are not playing today." Two guards stepped forward, but Chief Anderson turned, eyes still wet, and really saw her. She was shaking, but her eyes were steady, sharp, alive. There was something in them that did not match her clothes. "What is your name?" he asked. "Sandra." Mr. Adewale hissed. "Sir, please, this is a high-risk zone." Chief Anderson lifted a hand. "Let her try." The room froze. Even the alarms seemed to hush for a breath. "Seat," Chief Anderson said, pulling a spare chair toward a terminal. "If there's even 1% chance." Sandra moved fast for someone so thin. She slid into the chair, cracked her knuckles, and whispered, "Please, God." Her fingers began to dance. Windows flew open. Code lined up like soldiers. She did not waste time on long loading bars. She jumped through back doors the team had not checked, called scripts by memory, blocked ports, then opened others like secret gates. She did not ask for a password. She found the one the hacker dropped when he rushed in. She traced the snake through a hidden tunnel and bit it from the tail. "Who taught her that?" An engineer whispered. "Quiet," said Chief Anderson, leaning closer. Sandra's eyes narrowed. She saw it, the poison. A dirty little cron job wrapping itself around the database like wire. She cut it, then lifted the next layer. A red prompt flashed. "Wipe sequence armed." Her hands moved faster. She cut again, then again, patching holes with a quick script she wrote on the spot, her mouth moving softly as she counted the beats in her head. One of the screens turned from red to orange. Another turned from orange to yellow. "Come on," she breathed. "Come on." She reached for the main database switch like a musician reaching the high note. One more command. One more lock to pick. The room trembled with silence. The biggest screen blinked, then roared to life green, loud, whole. Files reappeared like lost birds flying home. Graphs climbed, backups synced. A heartbeat line pulsed across the monitor, steady and strong. "We're live," someone whispered. "We're live?" Another echoed, louder. "We're live." The room exploded. Engineers jumped. Security stared. A printer somewhere started spitting paper again like nothing had happened. The alarm stopped. The red lights dimmed. It felt like rain had fallen on a burning roof. Sandra stood up slowly and pointed at the main screen. Her voice was calm. "Your database is back. I have removed the trap, closed the open doors, and added extra layers of protection. I also traced the IP paths the hacker used." She tapped the corner. A small map showed a chain of hops, one in the city, one outside, one inside again. "It loops, but the end points to one name." "Whose name?" Chief Anderson asked softly. She looked at him, then at the room. "Your top competitor, Chief Andrew." A cold wind seemed to walk through the air vents. Mr. Adewale's mouth opened and closed. The head of security stared at the screen like it might bite him. The men who had laughed now looked at their shoes. Chief Anderson took a step toward Sandra. The tears were still there, but now they shone like light. In front of everyone, he wiped his face with the back of his hand and whispered, "Angel, Who are you? Nobody spoke. Even the server fans seemed to listen. Sandra tried to smile, but her lips shook. I'm just Sandra. Where did you learn this? An engineer asked, voice small. Her eyes fell for a second, as if those words pulled a heavy door open inside her. I used to be the head of cybersecurity. Outside the country, she said quietly. I had a good life. Then, one day everything broke apart. They blamed me for something I didn't do. Sir, the head of security cut in, trying to stand taller than his shame. Do we alert the police about Chief Andrew? Chief Anderson did not answer. He was still looking at Sandra, not like a stranger now, but like someone who had found a missing page of his own story. You heard me cry, he said, surprised at his own words. Yes, Sandra replied. Sometimes I pass by your building. Sometimes I stop by the ICT window to remember who I used to be. Today I heard you cry. A quiet fell. It was not empty. It was full of people realizing they had almost thrown away the one person who could save them. Mr. Adewale swallowed. He stepped forward and bowed his head. I'm sorry, he said to Sandra. I was wrong. Sandra blinked fast, confused by the sudden respect. She looked so small in that big room, like a candle you could crush with one hand. But the light was stronger than anyone's voice. Chief Anderson turned to his team. Document everything. Keep the logs. Secure all external links. No one leaves without giving me a full report. Then he faced Sandra again. If you will allow me, he said, choosing each word like it might break. Please come with me. I want to hear your story, and I want this company to hear your voice. A murmur ran through the room. The guards who had moved to drag her out now stepped aside, faces hot with shame. Sandra looked at the green screen, at the numbers climbing back into place, at the life she had given back. She hugged herself for a second, as if to hold her heart steady. Okay, she said softly. They walked out together, Billionaire and girl in a torn gown, under the bright white lights of Anditech's hallway. Workers peeped from doors, whispering, Is that her? The one who fixed it? Someone clapped once, uncertain. Then more hands followed, weak at first, then stronger, like rain learning how to fall. In the elevator, Chief Anderson pressed the top floor. The doors slid shut. The world went quiet again. He turned to her. Sandra, he said, I owe you more than thanks. But before anything else, I need to know the truth. Who hurt you? And why were you ready to help a man you don't know? Sandra lifted her eyes. The elevator lights drew small stars in them. She took a breath that sounded like it came from far away. When I tell you, she whispered. You might not believe me. The elevator chimed. The doors began to open onto the private floor, where decisions were made, where futures were written. Chief Anderson stepped aside, his hand gently holding the door. Tell me anyway. Sandra opened her mouth, and a sharp ping from his watch cut the air. A new alert. A fresh spike on the network. Somewhere inside the building, a hidden script woke up, like a snake twisting back to life. On the wall beside the elevator, a small red light flickered once. Then twice. The elevator doors had barely opened when Sandra's sharp cry broke the heavy silence. Something else is coming, she shouted, pointing at the glowing red light on the wall. Her voice, once soft and unsure, now carried urgency that snapped Chief Anderson's bodyguards to attention. The men reached for their radios, confusion flashing across their faces. Chief Anderson froze in place, his eyes darting to the flickering alarm, then back to Sandra. What do you mean something else? He asked, his deep voice breaking with worry. Sandra rushed out of the elevator before the guards could stop her. She sprinted to a nearby console outside the executive lounge, slammed the keyboard awake, and began typing furiously. Her hair swung wildly around her face, and sweat glistened on her forehead. They planted a sleeper script, she cried, her voice almost trembling. I didn't see it earlier, it was buried under dummy logs. Whoever did this knew we'd celebrate too soon. If I don't stop it now, the backup servers will fry themselves. The guards glanced at one another. Mr. Adewale had just reached the private floor too, panting from the stairs. His face turned pale when he saw the red light. She's right, he admitted. Oh my God. She's right. We didn't check the redundant loop. Chief Anderson's chest tightened. For hours, he had been holding back his fear like a dam. But now, watching Sandra's small fingers fly across the keys, watching her lips move as she whispered calculations only she understood, Something inside him shifted. This wasn't luck. This wasn't a joke. This frail girl was their last shield. "Protect her," he ordered, his voice steady. "Do not let anyone distract her." The guards straightened, forming a tight circle around the console as Sandra battled the invisible enemy. The building was silent except for the relentless clicking of keys. Sandra's breaths came shallow, her whole body leaning into the screen. Strings of code scrolled like rivers of fire. "It's trying to self-destruct the mirrors," she muttered. "If the mirrors burn, the original will crash, and then nothing survives." Mr. Adewale swallowed hard, ashamed. He had years of training, certifications plastered on his office walls, yet this homeless-looking girl had seen what he missed. "Can you stop it?" he asked in a whisper. Sandra didn't look up. "I have to race it. If I block too slow, it will execute the wipe. If I rush, I'll lock myself out. It's a battle of patience and speed." Lines of red blinked across the screen. "Override initiated. Data dump in 5, 4:59, 4:58. Everyone gasped. A countdown. Chief Anderson's knees weakened. His entire company's future was ticking away second by second. But Sandra's eyes narrowed. "Then I'll match it," she murmured. She opened a new terminal, typed commands that few in the room even recognized. With each second, she cut, patched, and rerouted. Her lips whispered like a prayer. "Not this time. Not again. You won't win this time." Her mind flashed back to that foreign office where she once ruled the cyber floor, to the day she stayed home sick, only to return and find everything gone, her name dragged through dirt, her career crushed. The cold prison walls, the judge's hammer, her parents' funerals she never attended. That nightmarish day was reliving itself here. But today, she wasn't going to be too late. The numbers fell. 312, 247, 159. "Too fast," one of the engineers whispered. "She can't stop it." "Silence," Chief Anderson barked, but his own voice cracked. His fists clenched, his chest heavy. Then, like a magician cutting a thread, Sandra struck a final line of code. The screen flashed. The countdown froze at 0:59. "Hold on," she whispered, sweat dripping down her temple. "Hold on." The numbers glitched. The screen turned black for a heartbeat. Everyone held their breath. Then the backup server logs flickered green. Loop broken. Server restored. Data secure. The console let out a soft beep, steady and calm, as if nothing had ever happened. The room erupted into noise, shouts, cries, applause, curses of relief. Guards hugged each other, engineers clapped their heads in disbelief. Sandra pushed the chair back slowly and wiped her face with her sleeve. Her body trembled, not from fear now, but from release. "It's done," she said softly. "The snake is dead." Chief Anderson walked toward her slowly, like a man approaching an altar. His expensive white agbada swayed with each step. His red cap tilted as his head bowed. When he stood before her, his tall figure cast a shadow over her. But his eyes, wet, raw, full of gratitude, lowered until he was looking up into hers. He did not care that her gown was torn or that her shoes were worn to the sole. He did not care that she smelled faintly of the street. In front of everyone, he pulled her into his chest and embraced her. His tears rolled down her disheveled hair. "Angel," he whispered again, his voice breaking. "You saved Undertech. What would I have told my people? What would I have told the world?" Sandra stiffened at first, then slowly, carefully, allowed herself to lean into him. For the first time in years, someone's arms felt safe. The entire floor went silent, watching Billionaire and Oprhan embrace like father and daughter. "Bring her to my office," Chief Anderson commanded. "Right now. She's not leaving this building the way she came." Mr. Adewale bowed his head. "Yes, sir." They walked together, Sandra still dazed, through the grand hallway lined with gold plaques and glass awards. Workers stared openly, whispering, some even clapping as she passed. Word had already flown like fire, the girl who saved the company. Inside the executive office, Chief Anderson poured himself water with shaking hands, then sat across from her. He studied her face, her tired eyes, the sadness that clung to her like a second skin. "Tell me your story," he said softly. "Tell me everything, because from this moment, you are no longer just Sandra from the street. You are my own blood, my daughter, and Undertech's future." Sandra's lips parted, her eyes glistened. For years, no one had asked to hear her story. No one had cared. Now, sitting across from the man she had just saved, she knew her past was about to rise into the light. She drew a shaky breath, and then, with the world waiting outside those glass walls, she began to speak. Sandra sat stiffly on the leather chair in Chief Anderson's office. The chair swallowed her thin frame, its polish gleaming under the ceiling light. Across the desk, Chief Anderson leaned forward, his elbows resting on the table, his fingers pressed together like a man praying. His eyes had softened from the fiery command of a billionaire to the quiet gaze of a father desperate to understand. "Go on, Sandra," he urged gently. "Tell me everything." Sandra's lips trembled. For a moment, her eyes darted to the window where Lagos shone in all its chaos, cars honking below, skyscrapers glowing in the night. She drew a long breath, steadying herself. "My story is not one you tell in bright rooms," she whispered. "But since you asked," she was just 19 when her life had changed. She had been brilliant with computers since secondary school, fixing codes, building small apps, breaking into systems her teachers thought were unbreakable. By 22, she had secured a dream job abroad at a prestigious software firm. Her name was spoken with respect in hallways where even senior engineers lowered their voices. "But power makes enemies," she murmured, her voice low. Her fingers clutched the armrest of the chair. "One evening, I stayed back at the office, patching a new firewall. My manager came in drunk, tried to touch me. I pushed him away. He laughed and said no one would believe me. The next morning, I was dragged out by police. They accused me of planting viruses in the system. The evidence was perfect, too perfect. Someone had rewritten my codes, inserted traps under my name. I screamed my innocence, but no one listened. They called me the traitor, the criminal, the hacker who betrayed her company." Her voice cracked. She covered her mouth quickly, ashamed of the tears pressing forward. "They locked me in a cell, Chief, cold, damp, smelling of rot. My parents came to visit me once, just once. My father's eyes were heavy with shame. My mother could not even look at me. Weeks later, I heard they died in a car accident. They buried them while I was still behind bars. I never saw their graves." Chief Anderson's throat tightened. He shifted uncomfortably in his chair, his mind struggling to hold the weight of her words. "When I finally got out," she continued, her voice shaking, "I had no name, no career, no family. I came back to Nigeria because I had nothing left abroad. I cleaned offices, washed dishes, slept in unfinished buildings. Nobody trusted me. Nobody even wanted to hear my story. But I kept one thing, my mind. I studied alone at night, broke into cyber puzzles on public computers, kept training myself because it was the only thing I had left." Sandra's eyes met his, sharp and piercing now. "So when your system screamed today, when your staff panicked, I saw it. I knew that signature. The same type of poison they once used to destroy me." She leaned back, her voice trembling with both pain and defiance. "Saving your company wasn't just about you, Chief. It was about me fighting the ghost of the day they ruined my life." The room fell silent. Even the hum of the air conditioner seemed to fade. Chief Anderson's chest rose and fell heavily. His hand moved instinctively toward his eyes, brushing away a tear before anyone could see. "Sandra." His voice was hoarse, breaking. "All these years you carried this wound alone. And yet tonight you stood when trained men failed." Sandra looked away. "I did it because I couldn't bear to watch another empire burn when I could stop it." "Not again." Chief Anderson rose slowly, his tall frame towering yet fragile with emotion. He walked around the desk and stood before her. For a long moment, he just stared at the girl who looked like she had not eaten in days, yet held the power to command machines and rescue giants. "You are more than a survivor," he said firmly. "You are a warrior. And hear me well. From today, your name will never be dragged in the mud again." Sandra's lips parted slightly. "But Chief..." "No," he cut in, raising a trembling hand. "I will clear your record. I will make the world hear your story. And you will not sleep under bridges again. This is your home now. Andertech is your home." Sandra's chest tightened. She wanted to believe, wanted to let those words wash her, but years of betrayal had built walls around her heart. At that moment, the office door burst open. One of the guards rushed in, breathless. "Sir, we found something." Chief Anderson frowned. "What is it?" The guard placed a sealed envelope on the table. It was slipped under the executive floor entrance. No cameras caught the person. Sandra's eyes narrowed. Her fingers itched. Chief Anderson opened the envelope carefully. Inside was a plain sheet of paper with typed words. "This is only the beginning. She may have stopped one storm, but the flood is coming. Next time, even she won't save you." The signature at the bottom was chilling. The Black Viper. The room went cold. Mr. Adewale, who had followed the guard, stammered, "Chief, Black Viper is a ghost name. No one has ever caught him. He is the most dangerous cyber criminal in West Africa. Some say he doesn't exist, that he's just a shadow passed from one hacker to another." It would. In the Dave Hubbardflation so, Sandra's face turned pale, but her jaw tightened. "He exists," she whispered. "I know because he's the one who destroyed me years ago." Chief Anderson's eyes widened. "You mean—" "Yes." Sandra's fists clenched. "The man who ruined my life, who put me in prison, who killed my career, he's back. And he's coming for you, Chief." The office fell silent again, but this time it wasn't grief, it was dread. Outside the glass walls, the city lights blinked, like eyes watching them, waiting for what came next. Chief Anderson slowly sank back into his chair, his face pale as ash. But then he looked at Sandra, and for the first time since the company was hacked, a strange fire lit his eyes. "Then we will face him together," he said firmly. "And if the flood is coming, I would rather fight it with you by my side than with all the experts in the world." Sandra swallowed hard. For the first time in years, someone had said with you, not against you. But deep inside, she knew facing Black Viper meant walking back into the very pit that had once destroyed her. And this time, she wasn't sure she would come out alive. The morning sun had barely touched the glass towers of Lagos when chaos rattled Andetech again. Sandra had not slept all night. Chief Anderson had insisted she rest in one of the executive suites, but each time she closed her eyes, she saw the shadow of the name scrawled across that paper. Black Viper. Her heart pounded as she opened the curtains. Outside, Lagos was alive with horns and voices, but inside her chest, it was silent war. A knock sounded. "Come in," she said softly. Chief Anderson entered, dressed in a cream agbada, his face stern yet weary. Behind him followed Mr. Adewale, clutching a tablet, his lips pressed thin. "We have a problem," Anderson said, without preamble. He placed a folded newspaper on the table. The headline screamed, "Andetech, under siege. Again, anonymous threat promises. Total shutdown in 48 hours. Sandra froze. "The press already knows?" she asked, her voice hoarse. "Yes," Adewale muttered bitterly. "Some insider leaked it. The markets are shaking. Our shares dropped overnight. If this threat is real—" He trailed off, rubbing his forehead. Chief Anderson's voice dropped to a growl. "It is real. He wants war, and we must be ready." Sandra sat at the edge of the bed, her fingers digging into the sheets. Black Viper never plays bluff. If he says 48 hours, then 48 hours it is. Anderson leaned closer. "You know him better than any of us. Tell me, what does he want?" Sandra's eyes darkened. "He doesn't want money. He doesn't even want fame. He wants destruction. To him, systems are living creatures, and bringing them down is his art. And if he destroyed me years ago, Chief, it was because I stood in his way." Silence settled like dust. Adewale shifted uneasily. "So what do we do?" Sandra rose, her shoulders straight. "We fight him on his own ground. He will come for the finance servers first. If we harden them, we buy time. But we need a team, not just me. If I face him alone, he'll trap me like before." Anderson nodded. "Then you will lead the team. Adewale, assemble everyone we can trust. Sandra is in charge now." In the section book, Adewale's jaw tightened, but he bowed. "Yes, sir." For a fleeting second, Sandra saw something flicker in his eyes, something not quite loyalty. By evening, the war room was alive. Screens glowed, engineers typed frantically, and phones buzzed with calls from branches around Nigeria. Sandra stood at the center, her small frame commanding attention in a room of men twice her size. "We don't have time for mistakes," she said firmly. "Every click you make, every line you write, think twice. Black Viper is not just an enemy. He is inside our heads." The engineers nodded, their fear sharpening into focus. Chief Anderson stood in the corner, watching her with quiet pride. In just hours, this orphan had transformed into a general. Then it began. A shrill alarm cut through the air. One of the monitors flashed. Unauthorized access attempt. Detected 19 hours, 45 minutes and 3 seconds. Sandra rushed to the console, her eyes scanning streams of code. "He's probing the finance server," she said quickly, trying to slip a keylogger into the payment gateway. Her fingers danced across the keys. "Block him on port 443. Now." The engineers scrambled. One typed furiously. Another rerouted firewalls. The screen calmed for a moment, then erupted again with new warnings. "He shifted," Sandra cried. "He's mimicking admin traffic now." Another screen bleeped red. Then another. Then 5 more. "Dear God," Adewale whispered. "He's attacking from everywhere." Sandra's jaw tightened. "Distributed nodes. Classic Viper style. He's spreading himself thin so we can't chase him all." Chief Anderson's voice thundered. "Then what's the solution?" Sandra's eyes glowed with resolve. "We don't chase him. We lure him." She opened a hidden console, typing commands so fast her knuckles whitened. A new server appeared on the grid, glowing faint blue. "What's that?" an engineer asked. "A honeypot," Sandra replied, her voice steady. "A fake finance server. If he bites, we trap him in a loop." The room held its breath. Seconds ticked. Then, beep. The honeypot lit red. "He's in," Sandra shouted. "Keep him busy. Feed him fake data." The engineers obeyed, flooding the trap with dummy numbers. For a moment, it seemed to work. The real finance server calmed. Relief spread across the room, but then a chilling message appeared across every screen. "Did you really think I wouldn't see your little trap?" Clever, Sandra. Very clever. But not clever enough. Her blood ran cold. "He knows my name," she whispered. The lights flickered. The entire building shuddered. Another alarm blared, this time from the power grid. "Chief," a guard shouted from the door. "The city grid tied to Andertech is collapsing." Anderson's face went pale. "You mean?" Sandra's eyes widened. "He's not just after Andertech. He's pulling Lagos into this. If the grid falls, hospitals, banks, airports, all will shut down." The room erupted in chaos. Phones rang, people shouted. Engineers scrambled, sweat pouring down their faces. Sandra slammed her hands on the desk. "Quiet," she barked. The room froze. Her small voice had turned into iron. "Listen to me. Viper wants fear. He wants us blind. But we know him now. We stay calm. We stay sharp. Or Lagos will fall." Her eyes locked with Chief Anderson's. "But if I fight him this deep, there's a chance he'll pull me down with him." Anderson's heart clenched. "No, Sandra, I can't." "You must let me," she said firmly, "because only I can read his poison. And only I can break it." The billionaire's lips trembled, but he nodded slowly. "Then go. And whatever happens, know this. You are not alone anymore." Sandra closed her eyes, drew in a deep breath, and dove into the storm of codes. The war had begun, but somewhere in the shadows of the city, behind countless screens and encrypted layers, Black Viper was smiling, and Sandra knew this was only the first bite. And the end, Sandra won, and Viper was stopped from destroying what he can't build. 3 years had passed since the night Sandra had stood in Chief Anderson's war room, fighting lines of malicious code to save not just Andertech, but the very heartbeat of Lagos. 3 years since she proved the world wrong about the girl they once branded a criminal. In that time, the storm had ended, but life had woven her a tapestry of healing and new battles, of tears and joy intertwined. It was in Port Harcourt that fate whispered a new chapter into Sandra's life. She had been invited to a tech conference as one of the rising voices in cybersecurity. Standing on that stage, the frail orphan who once begged for scraps was now an authority, explaining complex firewalls with simplicity. Her voice commanding a room of hundreds. Among the faces watching was Henry, a tall, calm-eyed man with the gentle confidence of someone who understood both technology and people. He was a software architect from Abuja, and when he approached her after her keynote, his words were simple but struck deep. "You speak like someone who has walked through fire and came out with light." Sandra had smiled shyly, unused to admiration that wasn't about her skill but about her soul. When she returned to Lagos, Henry called, and then he texted, and then he called again. Soon, not a day passed without their voices crossing miles of fiber and airwaves. He listened when nightmares of her prison days made her quiet. He encouraged her when doubt made her question if she deserved her new life, and when he asked if he could visit her in Lagos, she said yes, without hesitation. Months later, Lagos stood still for Sandra's wedding. Chief Anderson, who by then had become more than a mentor, almost a father, insisted on sponsoring everything. The hall glittered with chandeliers, flowers lined every aisle, and powerful men who once dismissed Sandra now sat in awe of her transformation. When it was time for the bride to walk down the aisle, a hush fell over the crowd. Chief Anderson himself held her hand. His tall frame trembled, his lips quivering as tears spilled freely. "I can't believe this, Sandra," he whispered as they walked. "From the moment you pushed through my guards to tonight, it feels like I am walking my own daughter." Sandra's eyes welled, her veil trembling with her tears. "You gave me a chance when the world refused me, Chief. Today is possible because of you." When she reached Henry at the altar, her heart beat with both fear and gratitude. Fear, because she had once lost everything. Gratitude, because life had given her a second chance. As they exchanged vows, she felt chains breaking, replaced with wings. But fate is never without shadows. Shortly after the wedding, her uncles came to her mansion in Lagos, the same uncles who had sold her late parents' house while she languished in prison. The men who had sneered and called her a disgrace. They knelt at her gate, tears streaming down their faces. "Niece," they pleaded, "we were misled by the devil. Forgive us. We did wrong." Sandra stared at them for a long time. Memories stabbed her chest, nights of hunger, the betrayal, the loneliness. Her fists trembled, and Henry placed a gentle hand over hers. "I forgive you," she said finally, her voice steady. "But not because of you. I forgive you because I need closure. But know this. If you ever considered me family, you would never have done what you did. I will never hate you, but I can never walk with you again." Her uncles wept, but she turned away. Some wounds are not bridges to rebuild, but scars to remind. Marriage brought joy, but it also brought silent battles. Sandra longed for children, but year after year passed without conception. Doctors said it was stress, others said patience. But at night Sandra lay awake, tears soaking her pillow. Henry, ever patient, held her and whispered, "Even if it is just us, forever, you are more than enough." But Sandra's heart ached. She had lost parents, lost years to prison, and now feared she would lose the joy of motherhood too. It was 5 years into their marriage, on an ordinary evening, when she walked into the living room, with trembling hands, clutching a test result. Henry looked up, and her tears told him everything before her lips did. "I'm pregnant," she whispered, her body shaking. Henry fell to his knees, hugging her belly, his tears soaking her dress. "Thank you, God," he cried. "Thank you for hearing us." 9 months later, the cries of 2 babies filled the hospital room. Sandra lay exhausted on the bed, her hair damp with sweat, but her face glowed brighter than any light. In her arms lay 2 beautiful baby girls, tiny, fragile, yet powerful enough to rewrite her destiny. They named them Amara and Amanda. Chief Anderson was the first to hold them after Henry. His wrinkled hands trembled as he carried the newborns, tears spilling like rivers. 2 granddaughters, he whispered. Me, a lonely old man, now blessed because one orphan chose kindness. Truly, kindness always returns home. 3 years later, Sandra stood on a massive stage, facing thousands of Nigerian youths. The event was televised nationwide. Banners read, "National Conference on Kindness, Second Chances, and Technology." At her side stood Amara and Amanda, now toddlers, clutching her gown with innocent eyes. Their presence made her voice steady, her words flow like a river from a healed heart. "My name is Sandra," she began, her voice echoing through the hall. "Many of you know me as the woman who stopped a cyber attack that could have crippled this nation. But before that, I was a poor orphan. I was wrongly imprisoned. My family betrayed me. I was homeless, rejected, and called evil names. I thought my life was finished." The crowd was silent, many wiping tears already. But one day, I decided to help a man crying over his hacked company. I had nothing, but I gave the only thing I had: my knowledge. I never knew that simple act of kindness would not just save him, but save me too. That day, my story changed. Her daughters looked up at her with bright eyes as she continued, Kindness is powerful, second chances are real, and technology, when used for good, can rebuild lives. I stand here not because I am the strongest, but because kindness opened a door for me when the world shut every window. Thunderous applause filled the hall. Cameras flashed. Chief Anderson and Henry, sitting in the front row, both wept openly, proud beyond words. Sandra raised her daughter's hands high and concluded, "If an orphan who once slept under bridges can stand here today, then hear me. Nigeria's youth, you are never too broken to rise again. Your act of kindness may be the key that unlocks your future. Never despise it, never ignore it, because that is the very foundation of who I am today." The ovation shook the hall, and Sandra felt her heart swell. The circle had closed. She had walked through fire, survived the viper's venom, healed her wounds, and now she stood not as a victim, but as a light. As she walked off the stage with Amara and Amanda in her arms, Sandra whispered softly to herself, "Thank you, Lord. The orphan has finally come home." What is your view about this story? Where are you watching from? If you enjoyed this story, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.